So Rory, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for having me on, Will. Good to see you.
Yeah, likewise. This is a very special podcast for a number of reasons, because it's not our first podcast together, but it is my first ever podcast with an animal. And I don't mean you. I mean,
Me.
we all know.
I've been called an animal before.
Yeah, we know about your history. We'll be talking a little bit about that. But we've got Yoda with us as well. So for those of you that aren't on YouTube and watching this right now, Yoda is
Look at Yoda. Yoda is a miniature dachshund, rare blue miniature dachshund. So he is, yes, a little sausage dog.
There we go.
What a cheeky boy. But he should be upstairs, not on the podcast. But he doesn't like being anywhere apart from on his daddy's lap.
There we go. So it's official. Yoda is now going to be broadcast. Well, hopefully he's not going to be broadcast around the world, because he's going to keep nice and quiet. But yeah, no. So changing relationship with alcohol. As we know, you're one of the co-founders of 1 Year No Beer, and a phenomenal movement that's done incredible things and has really changed a lot of the stigma around not drinking, really, and people deciding to want to change their relationship. I know that we as British people certainly have this this reputation as being sort of hardcore binge drinkers, and not everybody, but certainly in certain cultures and the industry that we've both come from in a previous life, it's been absolutely rife. And yeah, it's a phenomenal movement. You've had over 80,000 people that have gone through your programs and genuinely changed their life, their health, their mental health, their relationships, as a result of changing their relationship with alcohol.
100%. Thank you for that. And you're absolutely spot on. And apologies if you can hear a bit of Yoda in the background. Hopefully he'll settle. But yes, what an incredible journey it's been. But also what an amazing thing. I think we'll duck into this, like not only my transformation, which is obviously from being an oil broker, alcohol being fairly central to that, and never having a problem. It wasn't about there being a problem. It wasn't whiskey on the cornflakes in the morning. It wasn't you need to get yourself into checked in, mate. Nothing like that at all. But the transformation that I saw in myself, my body, my mind, everything was so huge. From being a normal social binge drinker, right, was so huge. And the transformation, not only in but also my mindset about alcohol, was like, wow, how do I help more people realize this? Because there's one thing I know for sure: it doesn't matter how many times you tell people, they won't listen. Because I wasn't listening, and I just thought the people who didn't drink were weirdos.
I used to think the same. I used to genuinely think the same. I used to think that the people that didn't drink had a problem, not the irony, right? But the people that didn't drink had a problem, and that they're alcoholics, and again, even people that are alcoholics and they go down that route, that's absolutely fine. There's genuinely no judgment from my part. Certainly these days, once upon a time there was. I'll be honest about that. But yeah, it's people changing. I think my view of it is changing the relationship with alcohol, but the reasons for it. So one of the things I love doing on this show is getting incredible people on it, which is one of the reasons that I've got you on, obviously. But what I really love doing is digging into why people are doing what they're doing, because the why is the real driver in 100%. Any significant accomplishment, whichever that is. And I know you're an incredibly purpose-led individual that keeps going. And look, you've not had it easy with the business, like most people in business. They've had their challenges, to say the least. But you keep plowing on and you keep doing your thing. So if we can go back to why 1 Year No Beer started and your sort of journey to get to that point, I'd love to share that with the people that are listening or watching this right now.
Absolutely. Well, let's just wind back a bit. When you talk about purpose, I am so utterly connected to the purpose of this. And I think my story shares that a little bit. And that is where so much drive comes from. But winding back to 6 years old, ADHD, absolute Fruit Loop, crazy. People didn't know what to do with me. The teachers, they basically gave my parents an ultimatum. It was either drugs or counseling. And I'm very fortunate that they chose counseling, because it started the process of me trying to understand what was going on in this hyperactive ADHD brain. I really struggle with that noise in my head, that real self-hatred, self-doubt, loud, and acting out, ADHD. 13 years old, I tried to commit suicide. The second attempt, it was a miracle I survived. And, my parents sort of desperate to help me see what they saw, which is they would always say I was special and, gifted and unique, but everybody out there was saying I was bad or naughty or a weirdo. And so there was this divide, and part of me wanted to escape. And the other part was like, well, maybe I am here to have an impact. So they encouraged me to write a letter to Richard Branson. They encouraged me to write a letter to a hero. And, at the time, Branson was, as he always is, very in the forefront of people's minds. And so I wrote him a letter. I said, I'm going to change the world one day, and I'm looking forward to having lunch with you. Words to that effect. Then I set off on my entrepreneurial career. So 15 years old, set up my first business, left school before the legal age, ran that company for 2 years. It was a disaster. Then went into field sales, then corporate sales for Caterpillar. Thought I was amazing at sales, set up another business as a sales outsourcing agency, ran that for 3 years, employed 10 people in Edinburgh. Sadly, that went down. By the time I was 25, I'd tried 5 different enterprises, all of which had failed. And I was just super focused on having this massive impact in the world, and threading along with it was not only the speed I was going, and trying to make this world change happen, force it if you like, but the noise in my head was growing, and so I'd have to unwind at the weekend, and that'd be partying hard at the weekends. So it was very much work hard, play hard attitude. Then I think went back to the pub one day on Mull, and I was sitting there kind of with my tail between my legs, telling some friends the story of all of these failed businesses. And someone piped up and went, yeah, I know where some failed entrepreneurs go. They apply for a TV program, The Apprentice. Have you ever heard of it? And so I've never heard of it, went in, filled out the application form, got accepted. 6 months of interviews, went down for the beginning of the filming, sat outside the show with people coming in and out and in and out and in and out. And then eventually they said, look, we can't explain it right now, but you're not going on the show this time. We'll fly you back to Scotland. And I'd kind of told everybody, on the island, I was going on to The Apprentice, all 8 of them. Because I'm from a very small island. And then I was like, I'm not going back with my tail between my legs. Looked at the departure board and saw the next flight to Ibiza. I'll go there. So went out to Ibiza and bumped into an oil broker out there. And he heard my story and was like, why don't you come and be an oil broker? Then spent 13 years as an oil broker. I started on crude oil, made a name for myself pretty rapidly, then had the opportunity to set up the jet aviation desk, which is a desk that my company had tried with teams of guys to break into and failed. And I made the market leader in under 3 years. So I was very good at my job. I think it would be the work hard, play hard attitude, but, entertaining was part of the job. So I could be out with clients once, twice, 3 times on a big week. They might be catching up with friends at the weekend, but that was all just perfectly normal. And then quite a few years into the job, met my wife, started to have a family, things like that. Some of those things were starting to show some growing pains, of like, well, hang on a minute, why are you coming home at 2 o'clock in the morning on Tuesday? And, that wasn't all the time, but it was just like, this is wearing a bit thin. And so with those pressures and insights, somebody introduced me to this thing called Headspace. I started doing Headspace for 10 minutes on the train on the way to and from work. And this Headspace was really the first time I'd ever found this quietening of the noise. Like I'd never been able to silence the noise in my head, which was so loud. And maybe you resonate with the noise, that self-deprecation, that self-doubt, that self-hatred, that really critic. So finally I started to quiet the noise. And I quieted the noise. There was this other voice coming forward, if you like, or this other feeling. And that was, I think alcohol is causing me more trouble than I realize. And, I searched around for it for a bit, and my colleagues were like, what are you talking about? You're a lightweight. I was like, well, I'm thinking about this, and approached my boss and said, I'm thinking about taking a break from booze. And he essentially said, you're committing commercial suicide if you stop drinking. And so that was, a huge fear. I was like, what? I've built this big desk. I've got a team of guys under me. It's now doing 5 odd million turnover. I can't, just suddenly throw this all away. And so it took me 6 months to pluck up the courage. And then eventually I did. I just said, what, sod it, I'm going for it. And on that, I went, I'm going to do 90 days. And on that 90 days, I was just blown away. I mean, things started to change. The noise completely died down, if not evaporated. Niggling health issues started to disappear. But ultimately what happened was I got through 90 days and was like, you know what, I'm going to carry on for a year. I think I'm going to crack on. So carried on for the full year. And during that year, all of my life transformed. My business got better. I was a better dad, better husband, fitter, faster, healthier, lost a ton of weight, and what I've now discovered is that actually that break from alcohol gives you the tools that you need to actually really transform your life. Suddenly you want to exercise, suddenly you want to eat right, suddenly you're not eating the crap because you can really feel what it does to you. You can feel the impact. Your mental health improves because you're doing the, it's the complete opposite of the negative spiral from alcohol. Instead, it's a positive whirlwind that starts to help really impact your life. So kind of armed with that, got together with Andy, who's my co-founder. We used to work together at the same broking firm. And we said, look, there's something really big here. Nobody's talking about the advantages and the benefits of taking a break from booze. In fact, if you want to take a break from booze, you have to have a problem. You have to go to AA, you have to check in, your GP needs to tell yourself you've gone off the edge. And then, you know what, you've got a problem, you go over there because you're going to be one of those people for the rest of your life. And we were like, well, but that wasn't us at all. We just wanted to be fitter, faster, pro. We want to be an athlete. We want to be good at our jobs. We want to be great dads, husbands. We want to be all those things. And that's what a break from alcohol gives you. So that's where we came up with the idea of just making it into a challenge. No stigma, no labels, no blame, no problem, no questions. Let's just do this. In fact, why not bring your friends in? Like, let's make this a team event and say, come on, guys, let's all do this together. Let's go to the pub and talk about, you know what, I'm going to do 90 days, no booze. Who's in with me? I'm excited. Right. We're drinking alcohol-free drinks, blah, 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 blah. And try and create that kind of vibe around it. And yeah, we launched that back in 2016. As you said, now over 80,000 members in 90 countries.
Love it. The thing that I want to touch on, there's two things I want to touch on, but the first thing I want to touch on what you mentioned about your story is the assumption. Your boss even said you're going to commit commercial suicide by doing that. And I was in an industry, I was in a very, very similar industry to yourself for years. And I can imagine trying to make that decision years ago, that would have been something that was on my mind. When I decided to stop drinking, it wasn't that, but it was my social element. I've grown up playing rugby, so big rugby drinkers, stag do's and all that stuff, Vegas, Marbella, all these places that you're just drinking obscene levels. What happened to work? Like, what did happen to those relationships with the type of people that on a Tuesday night, a client you'd be entertaining and be out till 2 o'clock in the morning or whatever? What happened with those relationships?
There was, well, first of all, the highlight is that my business grew by another 50%. We were already the market leader, right? So taking a break from alcohol was the best thing. Friday morning, I was the sharpest broker. I was the only one who wasn't hungover, there to clean up. Now, the thing was that I could go out with customers and I would go just as hard. I wasn't drinking alcohol. I would drink Red Bull so that I had enough energy. I wasn't going to yawn. I wasn't going to let their guard down. I wasn't going to let them turn around and go, see, he's so boring now, he doesn't drink. I was like, that to me is the worst outcome I could possibly imagine, for them to say, you've changed. You're boring now. You don't drink. I was like, I can't have that. So I still need to go and jump up on the table and dance like an absolute fool. I still need to do the crazy, silly boy stuff because that's what people were expecting of me. So I was like, fine, I'm going to behave like that. And you know what? I think maybe I'm unique, or certainly on the special end with this, is that genuinely, I kind of feel that, kids like toddlers and drunk people are at my level mentally, right? So we just all connect really well. It's fine. If you want to talk nonsense, misbehave, have a bit of fun, be silly, great. I'm there all day long. And so the other things were, I had to switch it up. So when I was looking at the entertaining piece, I was like, you know, starting to understand our relationship with alcohol and what are the demands and what the expectations, and reading about habit change. And so the actual search for dopamine, so that feeling of being out drinking, of that serotonin and dopamine that's released at the same time as being with somebody. Now, it's just not the same when you're sitting there having a coffee with somebody, right? That's what alcohol helps. So how can we get that in another way? I know, let's create spin and stake. So what I'd do is go to a cycle, get 10 customers to come along. We'd do a spin class for 45 minutes, release a load of dopamine, then go for a steak afterwards. Afterwards, I wouldn't drink. They'd maybe have 1-2 glasses of wine because they just didn't feel like going on a big bender after making themselves feel good. And then they were like, oh, I really enjoyed that yesterday. It made, you know, so glad I wasn't doing the just the booze thing all the time, because that's what everybody is doing, like just going out getting smashed. So then I started doing some trips, and we, you know, used to do cycling trips out to Mallorca. Well, a cycling trip out to Mallorca gets you 3, maybe 6 months of people chatting excitedly about it, talking, making notes, comparing what their cycling is, where are we going to go. Like, that was building way bigger and better relationships than just going and getting smashed at the pub. And in many cases was cheaper than some of these soirees in restaurants and expensive wine bottles that would go on. So yeah, switched it up, really thought it. The other key part, and this was very much learning, you know, I effectively lost a customer because I went down early, and this was, I started to work out that if you can go down in early, tip the bar person or the restaurant person and say, look, I'm not drinking, but you can't let anybody know. So you need to serve me whatever they're having, whatever we're all having, but you need to make sure it's alcohol free. You need to be clever with it. And like 50 quid or something, be smart, make sure your colleagues know if you go for a pee or anything, don't let me down. And so I went into this restaurant, did that little piece there, which had worked a few times before, sat down with this customer, thinking all good. They're like, he came in, it's like, round of beers. There's about 8 of us there. Great, round of beers. Like this, yep, great. Looks at me, comes back, drops beers on everyone like this. And the next minute comes over to me with this flour stained glass, right, with a little handle like this thing, and plops an alcohol-free bottle, which they've clearly just blown the dust off, next to the thing for all to see. And the guys are like, what the fuck is that? And I was like, I don't know, get it away from me, where's my beer? So that is the hard things. Then there's this whole stealth drinking thing, right? And again, in the early days, you might have to do this. And some people hear me talk about this and they're like, that's just ridiculous that you would even have to do that. And I was like, well, if some people expect you, and that's the way the society is, if they expect you to be drinking for them to feel that bonding with you, which is true, some people feel that way, then okay, you can fool them. And the way to fool them is exactly as I said, go to the bar and ask for an alcohol-free beer put into a pint glass. Sit there, sip it, drink it. When they order you one or it's around, go to the toilet, pour it away, order yourself your alcohol-free beer, come back to the place again. Same things with gin and tonics. It's just a gin and tonic without the gin. So that's like pretend stealth drinking. It's crazy that we would even need to have that kind of thing. Like, isn't that ridiculous? But that is the society we live in. And that's why 1 year no beer exists. 1 year no beer exists because there's social pressure, because it's difficult not to drink, because it's difficult to change your relationship with it. Like, lots of people go, you know what, I do dry January every year, that's enough for me. And I was like, yeah, but did you actually change your relationship with it? Because if you didn't, then you've wasted your time.
I think again, as someone that's not, well, so I decided on my 29th birthday that I was going to have a year off, and I did it because I wanted to achieve a particular goal before I was 30. And then I kept going, and then I did end up having a few drinks, had 2 what I would call big nights out, and then just thought to myself, so I had a few like social things, everything was fine, like literally 1 beer and then whatever. So sort of trying to reintroduce it, and then I had 2 big nights out and thought, I just don't want to do this. I don't enjoy this. This isn't my idea of fun. But I think one of the things that you just mentioned there, which is really, really key, is around the changing your relationship with it. So if you would typically go out, let's say, and then you choose to go, right, I'm not drinking, so I'm just going to stay in all month and have a terrible time and not socialize and not do anything that you would usually do, that's not experiencing going out and not drinking. That's not doing it.
Actually, all it's doing is reaffirming to your brain that alcohol is pertinent to a happy, fun, exciting life.
Yeah.
And that's what you've got to change, right? Because that's what we've been conditioned. We've been conditioned to believe that alcohol equals fun. Alcohol equals being sociable. Alcohol equals having friends. Alcohol equals getting laid. Alcohol. So all of that math has been done in our brain, and our brains are amazing at going into autopilot. So that math is constantly running like, oh, if I'm going to go and have fun with friends, there will be alcohol there. And that's what we've got to try and unlearn. We've got to teach the brain that those things do not equal each other. In fact, it's usually the opposite.
So you talk about stealth drinking, and that's obviously a way of doing it. One of the things that I found really powerful that worked for me was the challenge piece, and what I love about challenges, like the whole Couch to 5K challenge, and even the Dry January and Stoptober and all that stuff, is that it is a challenge. It gives people an opportunity to dip their toe in the water. And I think what's really key with you and what you're doing with 1 Year No Beer versus other like take Alcoholic Anonymous as a vehicle. Yeah, exactly. As a vehicle that helps people, is that one is like, right, you're making the decision for the rest of your life, and the challenge is a lot easier for people to be able to take on. Yeah, all right, I'm going to give this 90 days or 365 days, and be able to
or 28.
Yeah, or whatever it might be, to be able to
experience
the benefits and do those things. So let's just start with, what's the mindset shift before we get into some practical benefits. We've spoken about lots of benefits, but some actual practical things that people can do other than just signing up for the program. And we'll talk about some of the things that the program sort of introduces to people. What's the mindset shift that someone needs to have to get to that point where they're going to go, all right, I'll give this a go?
Okay, so I think the first things in preparation are that forget about whether if you are drinking more than 3 glasses of wine a week, right, which is really all of us, let's be honest. 3 glasses of wine a week is basically a bottle of wine. If you are drinking more than that a week, you will most likely see a huge transformation if you take a break from alcohol. And for most people, it's something between, their epiphany is somewhere between 40 and 60 days. So that's the moment when they're like, oh my God, I feel amazing. This has totally changed me. I feel amazing. For most people, it's 40 to 60 days. Some people it's 9, some people it's longer, but for most people it's 40 to 60, which is why our 28 days is really just a taster, and why so many people who just do a month off don't really get to that huge sudden epiphany and that change. And so that's why we always encourage people to go for a bit longer. The second thing is that there's never a good time. There are always events. There are always things on the plate. There are always excuses. There's always things to go to, etc. Less so now, right? We're stuck at home, and we haven't got all these events on, so it makes it a bit easier. That's why this is the best time ever right now to be changing your relationship with alcohol. You've got a different environment. You don't have the peer pressure. You don't have those things going on. You are putting it in your mouth, and we can give you all the tools to help you change your mindset around it. So, and then I guess the other part in lining up to think about this is, one real key part is that I don't know what will change for you if you are drinking more than 3 glasses of wine a week and you come and take a break. I don't know what will change for you, but it is most likely to change your life. Now, lots of people say, oh, change your life and change your life and change your life. But I don't know. I get tagged in hundreds, thousands of posts of people who said, this changed my life. Almost every single one of our members said, I wish I'd done this sooner. And almost every single one of our members said, I had no idea the impact alcohol was having on me, right? So on that basis, that it could change your life, that you most likely have no idea what impact it's having on you, because it's like being in a toxic relationship. You cannot see it when you're in it, right? You don't know the abuse that's going on when you're still in that relationship. You have to step outside it. And then suddenly you're like, oh my God, why was I in that sodding relationship? Which is what happens with alcohol. So you can't see it while it's in it. And that's why Doesn't matter how much you drink, it is worth just taking the challenge to see. And so when you think about it like that, you reduce the pressure. This is not a commitment for you to say you are going to be in recovery for the rest of your life. I'm not asking you to come into the room because you think you have a problem. Forget that. I'm not asking whether you think alcohol is really problematic in your life or not. I'm just saying, do you want to be fitter, faster, healthier, happier? Do you want to lose weight? Do you want to be more productive? Do you want to feel more calmer with your kids? Do you want to be able to be more resilient, right? Do you want to be able to deal with the pressures that are going on in the world right now? Do you want to reduce your blood pressure, your heart rate? Do you want to bring your heart rate variability down? I could keep going because I asked into our community, could you give me at least a few reasons why anyone should take a break from alcohol in 2021? That post has over 500 comments. I went through it, removed all the duplicates. There's nearly 200 individual benefits. And I'm like, mind blown. How do I help more people see this information? Because if they knew that this was on their fingertips, that all they had to do was take a break from alcohol to achieve all those benefits, everyone would be doing it. One other tiny thing to add into that is that, okay, there's loads of benefits. It will probably change my life. I'm interested in that. But Ruari, there's a pandemic going on. I mean, mummy wine time. The only way I get through a day right now is by having a drink. There's stress. Don't take my Friday relaxation away from me. All of these things. And this is the other key message. Everything that you think alcohol brings you is actually a lie. Okay. Now, so let's say you think alcohol relaxes you. It doesn't. It does for a very short period of time, but then it just creates the same anxiety and frustration and fear and doubt and everything else that you feel at the end of the day, so that you need a drink the next day. It's a drug. Drugs beget themselves. You think it helps you sleep. Nope, it doesn't. It destroys your sleep. Alcohol prohibits you from getting deep restorative sleep. That sleep that helps you recover from exercise, from hard work, from doing lots of mental work during the day. All of that process is required to help you recover at night. And when you're drinking, you're not getting that. So again, you feel sleeplessness, you feel tired, and you need a drink again for that cycle. So all these perceived benefits are actually, the problems are caused by alcohol in the first place. And the final part on that is that what we've known from so many people, and I'm sorry about the puppy in the background, it's really going mad. The final thing is that you will only really know this when you see it yourself. And experiencing it yourself. Because me standing here and telling you, you're like, yeah, but my life is okay anyway. You know, I actually feel okay in my life right now. And I'm like, well, let me transport you right now to 90 days from now, having done the challenge. And you'll look back and go, I can't believe I ever felt that way.
It's really interesting what you've mentioned there around the sort of the you think it's doing one thing, but it's actually doing something else. And a lot of the work that I do with my clients is around getting them to understand the difference between a symptom and a cause. And a lot of the times, most people take Western medicine, right? The majority of the time in Western medicine, we are taking medicine to treat a symptom, not to treat the root cause. And so many people, in my opinion, and I was one of them, are using alcohol to mask a symptom of a root cause rather than dealing with the root cause. And when you're not using alcohol to deal with that stress or whatever else it might be, that you're using it as a means of escape. And for a lot of people right now, they're going to listen to this, they're going to have cognitive dissonance. They're going to go, whoa, no, I'm not escaping anything. No, everything's fine. But it's only when you take a step back and you go, actually, yeah, do you know what? Maybe there are some things that aren't quite as I would like them in my life. And there are some changes that I would like to make, that alcohol's kind of keeping me in this loop of being able to deal with it, to be able to sort of just bear with it, you know, because it's taking that edge off and not making it as painful, when deep down something else is going on that we can make those changes around. How often do you find that with people?
I mean, most of the time. And so, I mean, you know, that there is a lot of cognitive dissonance around this whole subject, because people immediately want to disassociate. They either want to say, oh, well, you don't drink because you have a problem and I don't have a problem and I'm okay. And I think that, you know, when you look at this, like, ambivalence is the enemy of changing your relationship with alcohol. Ambivalence absolutely surrounds our drinking, right? So you wake up the next morning and you go, oh, well, I feel a bit crappy, but that's just normal. Everybody feels like that after a few drinks. And I don't know what I said to people. I would, and you brush it all under the carpet, and it's like, okay, but actually the truth is, well, hang on a minute, you do feel horrible, and not just for the first day, but actually 2 or 3 days afterwards, and you're snappier and you're tired and you're angry. And so getting awareness is absolutely one of the key parts of changing your relationship with anything, certainly alcohol, because awareness is obviously the opposite of ambivalence, being truthful with yourself about about your relationship with the alcohol and the impact it's having. And I think on the other side of that, because we tend to try and stay away from the doom and gloom and the negative and all of that kind of stuff, and just try and bring everything back to the positives and the advantages again. And this is to say, look, again, this challenge is something that will probably change your life, and it will unlock certain areas of you. So like I saw in my own journey, suddenly I wanted to exercise because I wasn't drinking. Suddenly I wanted to eat the right foods. Suddenly I was doing the right things, focusing on the right tasks in my business. All of those things came really from the beginning of stopping drinking. And so I think that when you look at it like that perspective, you try and remove people from that place of feeling defensive about their relationship with alcohol, and just say, just come and give this a shot. It will probably change your life. As for how to do it, don't worry. It's just about stepping over the line. I was talking about this just yesterday, saying that, if I go down to the gym, I go down there and I'm instantly overwhelmed. I'm like, which machine do I start with? What weights do I put it on? Where do I go? Do I go in that circle or over there or who? And I'm like, run away. But if I go into a CrossFit gym, all I have to do is step my feet over the line. And from that moment, I have no option. I'm going to have a really intensive workout. It's going to absolutely smash me to pieces. And so because I've removed all the decision fatigue, all of that stuff's taken away from me. And that's exactly what we want with the stepping over the line at 1 year no beer. So we don't expect you to know how you're going to do this. We don't expect how you're going to change your relationship, or more importantly, how you're going to enjoy this. Not just that it's going to be deprivation and abstaining and fear and all those things, but how this is actually going to be fun. Right? Can you imagine not drinking being fun? Well, that is what the experience is going to be. And you'll find that out when you just cross over the line.
So obviously I'm going to get the link in the description, or wherever it is that on this. Yeah, it'll be in the description, show notes, whatever, for people if they want to sign up to do challenges with you, because you do 28, 90-day and 365-day challenges. So yep. people have an option of testing it. So that would be the obvious place to direct people to. But if people are thinking, well, I don't know, maybe I'll give this a go myself, what would be some really practical tips that you would give people in wanting to test this and maybe create a challenge of their own if they didn't get involved with 1 year no beer?
100% love to support them. So, well, first of all, we have lots of free support, like our podcast, lots of amazing guests, lots of ways of thinking about it, blogs, etc. Loads of resources out there. I would dive into the quit literature. Lots of people talk about this, so they call it the quit lit, is the inside name. But if you look up alcohol in Amazon, you'll find lots of good books. Kick the Drink Easily by Jason Vale, Alan Carr's Easy Way, This Naked Mind, The Unexpected Joy of Being Sober, by Catherine Gray. These are brilliant books, and each one you'll resonate with parts of it and you won't resonate with others. Alcohol Explained, by William Porter, very, very powerful, very detailed book looking at the science and the research behind all of this stuff. And all of that starts to make you think, oh, right. And now you're really getting aware of it. So
I've got to jump in. There's another book as well that's worth picking up, isn't there?
The 28-Day Alcohol-Free Challenge by Ruari and Andy Ramage. Yep, Ruari Fairbairns and Andy Ramage. I made it sound like we were married there, Ruari and Andy Ramage. Anyway, so I'd look at that. Getting awareness, starting to research. Second thing is load up on alcohol-free alternatives, right? Alcohol-free beers, alcohol-free spirits. The rise of them is amazing. It's the fastest growing beverage market in the world. The alcohol companies are investing huge sums now into this. I mean, Gordon's Gin just launched a zero. There's lots and lots and lots of exciting ones. Now, the reason why you're doing that is that again, the belief in our brain is that not drinking is boring and full of shame, stigma, and needs willpower and is a painful thing to do. Okay. And what we want to make it is exciting, adventurous, full of fun people, etc. That's what we want to do it. So if you have got a whole bunch of alcohol-free drinks to try and taste, like you're going through a night and you could only try 2 or different craft beers that are alcohol-free, you are having, that's just way more fun than sitting at home and drinking water, right? So that's a key thing. The second thing is there's some really interesting research around the placebo effect of drinking alcohol-free drinks. And some students in Stanford University, some 80% of the students who were drinking the placebo, the alcohol-free beer, were still showing signs of being drunk. And so what we're actually teaching our brain there is that it can release the dopamine, it can release the serotonin, it can still have a good time, all of those things, but it's actually not drinking 100% poison, which is what alcohol is. And instead, you are you're getting all those psychological benefits. And, you know, that routine you have, which we so well know in habit change, coming home at the end of the day, open up the fridge, pick out a bottle, it's green, you look at it, you open it up, you make that noise, that clink, you're like, I'm already unwinding. I'm already feeling the unwinding feeling, the smell, the tip. The alcohol hasn't gone into my body, but I'm already feeling the unwinding. And that's why an alcohol-free beer can be really helpful. So again, that's...
vouch for that. I can definitely vouch for that. I think one of the things that made my alcohol-free journey so much easier really is I enjoyed a beer, like a nice cold beer. I didn't enjoy being really, really drunk, and I would get to a point, and as my friends would always very kindly take photos of to show me the next day, is I would just fall asleep somewhere, you know, whatever. But I'd fall asleep and then I'd wake up being full of energy, go for another few hours, and then fall asleep again. And it was like it was not an enjoyable experience. But having that alcohol-free beer, I enjoy it. You know, on a hot summer's day, cracking one open, having an alcohol-free beer.
Lovely.
It's super enjoyable. Quick fire round. Your favorite alcohol-free beer?
Heineken Zero at the moment.
Alcohol-free wine, yes or no?
Lots more investment needs to go there. They're just vinegars, I'm afraid. In saying that, No Secco is brilliant. Scavvy and Ray is brilliant. So the bubblies are good. You can enjoy. Oh, Wildlife Botanicals sent me a bottle. So we are moving into alcohol-free drinks retail. So in a few weeks, we'll be launching our retail platform, giving people access to alcohol-free drinks. They're just so helpful in helping people change their behavior and relationship with alcohol. So, so we've been doing a lot of tastings and checking these things out. So yeah, the Scavvy and Ray, which you can get at drydrinker.com at the moment. Soon you'll be able to get it from us. And then also the... what was it? No Secco. You can get No Secco in Tesco's. So they're good.
And spirits, favorite spirit?
Well, there's all sorts of different ways to look at the spirits. So I'm excited to try the Gordon's gin. I like a gin. And at the end of the day, even the zero gin and tonic out of Tesco's in a can is not bad. Like, it's not bad. But then there are some really out there ones. And I think the one I'm most impressed with at the moment, now it's not 100% there, right? But it is 70% there, and it is American Malt by Lyre's. Now, I was a whiskey drinker. I made a career out of knowing my whiskeys. It was my thing. I'd get to the end of a broker lunch or broker dinner, and I'd be like, right, who wants a whiskey? And I'd talk about the distilleries and how they fired the cask, all that kind of stuff. And people loved it. So I know a whiskey, and this is an amazing, amazing drink. You know, it's like a bourbon, and there is no alcohol in it, and it even has the kick. And I was just so impressed that they've made something like that. So the investment going into this sector is absolutely enormous. They reckon that alcohol-free spirits is going to grow 80% over the next 12 months. So just a huge growth area.
And what was I going to say in relation to that specifically? Nope, it's gone. Okay, cool. So, alcohol-free drinks are a really good way to be able to make that transition as part of your challenge. And obviously, we mentioned a few of them. What would be something else?
So I think we've got your learning information, which I think is key. So you start to get the truth about alcohol. which is reading the Quit Lit, alcohol-free drinks. I guess right now we're in lockdown, so we're at home. And what you want to start to be doing is understanding your triggers and what it is you're really searching for. So ultimately, there's a reason why we drink alcohol. And, for many of us, we're not listening to either the noise inside of our heads, we're trying to shut that off, or some things that might need changes in our life. And the thing is, if you feel like you're an anxious person and you're drinking for that anxiety, I just want to let you know that if you Google what is alcohol, it'll tell you it's a colorless, flammable, volatile liquid also used as a fuel source known as ethanol, right? And just like ethanol is fuel, which is what it is, it's fuel, so is alcohol for your anxiety. It's just fuel for your anxiety. And not enough people are told that. Like we have so many members who come in and they've been on years of medication for anxiety, and they remove it in their 90-day program, like transformed their lifelong anxiety. And you're like, I just feel so sorry for them, and I wish that people had told them that before. So anyway, I digressed there. But so I think that what we're trying to do is work out our relationship with alcohol. What is the cue? What is the routine is drinking alcohol, but what is the reward I'm trying to search for? And when you rework that and say, how can I get that in a more natural way? If I have anxiety, then meditate more, exercise, yoga, those things, trying to help reduce the anxiety, as well as removing alcohol because it's just fuel for it. If I don't sleep well at night, well, pick up a book on sleep. Sleep is a bit of an art. And what we need to do in our busy worlds is actually double down and invest in it. Whenever, I think this is a good message for life anyway, if you've got pain, right? Pain is the body's way of directing your attention to something that needs help, right? Please help me. This is in pain. But so is emotional pain. It's directing our attention. And so are the things that are not right in our life. So if sleep is upset, focus on it. Like really dial down, get some books, study it. Sleep actually starts in the morning. First thing, exercise. The lymphatic system does not have a pump. Your liver is on there. Your liver must process all these toxins and all this crap, but it needs your body to move in order to actually get its job done. So exercise is key to a good night's sleep. So yeah, I think that's all the stuff we sort of teach people on the challenge. We teach them how to change that way they are interacting in that brain, that math they're doing. Oh, I use it for sleep, or I use it to feel good, or dopamine. And, in the early days, if you're like, hey, I'm a real dopamine seeker, alcohol's great for that, then use some chocolate. Get some 70% chocolate in the beginning, keep it in an emergency ration. And then when you feel that craving, have a bit of chocolate. It is the lesser of two evils. We will work on the no sugar thing a little bit later. We just launched our no sugar challenge last week. So we'll be able to help you there too.
Love that. One of the things that you've just said there, which I talk about it all the time, is that any emotion is simply a signal to get you to think or act differently, particularly negative emotions. If you're feeling negative emotions, it's a signal to be thinking or acting differently. Identifying which of the two there's a little bit of an art to that, but it's that first piece is the awareness bit. So anxiety is just fear of the future. Let's bring that back and let's create some change. If you're feeling feelings of depression, then that's normally around guilt or shame that you've had in your past, and being able to create that change is so significant. Completely. One of the things that I would love to add to that list, a great list that you've just added, that I found worked really well for me, is anytime that if you just take nature and the universe, that the universe doesn't want vacuums. It will constantly try and replace something if you remove something, then the universe is going to conspire to replace it, So it's like, if you want to stop negative thinking, we'll replace it with positive thinking rather than just trying to stop negative thinking, Totally. And if you're wanting to do something different of an evening, what I found worked really well for me was giving myself something to wake up for. So rather than say, I'm going to go out all night and then I'm going to clear the next day because I'm going to be hungover or whatever, I would put something in the morning. I would go and do that bike ride at 6 o'clock in the morning, book in that 7 o'clock run with a friend. And that worked really well for me. The same with nights out, for the people that are up for it, rather than going to the bars in my early stages, I would say, right, well, who can I go for dinner with? That would be up for going for dinner and doing something with dinner. I've never really been a dinner drinker anyway. I was always more like, let's just go and have a night out and get drunk. If I'm not getting drunk, then there's no point in drinking. That was always kind of my but that's something I found
eating's cheating.
Yeah, exactly. Give myself something in the morning to get up for, so that I had that. one could argue it's an excuse to your friends. Like, oh, no, I'm doing this in the morning, I'm not doing it. But it made it easier to be able to do that. And then eventually, I mean, I've done stag do's in the likes of Prague and getting up to all the usual antics that you would do on a stag do, and done it completely sober. And I wake up in the morning fresh as a daisy, sort of waiting for everyone to wake up. And you're getting cracking.
Those are some of my best stag do's, are the ones where I've not drunk. And the thing for me is I still wanted to be life of the party. I was always the first one shouting shots, so I was like, I'm not going to change that. I'm still going to be the first one shouting shots, just mine's going to be water. And people would be like, fucking hell, Ruari, not more shots, we just had one and you're drinking water. And I'm like, yeah, so get it down you. And some people will be like, that's terrible. But that's how it goes on stag do's. So I just didn't change.
I think what's really interesting you've mentioned there, and this is something that a lot of people have an assumption around as well, is that you've experienced the benefit of it so much so you created a business and you've had over 80,000 people that have experienced the benefits of it, but you still go out with other people. You're not the person that's going, no, oh, don't order that drink, you don't know what that's doing to you. Like, oh, hold on a minute, let me get my book out and you can read a passage of your book like you're preaching the Bible.
Did you know it's 100% poison? You're poisoning yourselves. This is not the vegan movement. Oh, I have to be careful there. No, I'm not out absolutely an alcohol basher. So I still drink. I still drink. I drink as much as I want, whenever I want. I just usually choose not to have a drink. So, for instance, I was really not sure about my 40th. And then I was like, you know what, I'm going to drink the day before, not actually on my 40th, which was back in the beginning of December. So I was like, okay, it's planned. I'm going to have a bit of a party, and, had way too many gin and tonics. And I felt absolutely horrendous on my 40th birthday. But hey, that was a planned program. Haven't touched a drop since then. I'm just like, I don't want to. So, but I think the most important thing is this challenge is about you pressing the reset button, right? And the reset button is pressed when you take a long enough break for you to remember you're in a whatever the hell it's called. It's gone out of my brain. An abusive relationship, a toxic. Thank you. You're in a toxic relationship. You can't see it for what it is. When you take that break and you see it for what it is, you just won't want to let it back in as much or at all anymore. But that's totally up to you what you want to do. If you want to go out and carry on drinking as you were before, go for it. No problem. That's extremely unlikely. 95% of our members say that we changed their relationship with alcohol. 87% of members choose to carry on alcohol-free after the challenge. These are people who thought, I'm not even sure I can do a week, or I don't know if I can do longer than a month, are choosing to carry on alcohol-free after their challenge because they've had that mindset shift. They're like, I don't want to let this good stuff go. And so, really that's what we want for people. And then people say, well, why do you drink, Ruari? Well, I don't understand. I was like, well, when we set this up, I stopped drinking. And then there was this pressure cooker around I could never drink again because I was running a movement of people who were not drinking. And I was like, but it's not about that. So we had to kind of cross that bridge gently. And I think that the vast majority of people don't want to not drink. I think the vast majority of people just want to have a healthier relationship with alcohol.
The game changer for me was when I decided that, because at first it was the challenge, I did the year, and then I finished I did about 18 months or so. And then I had those couple of beers, I had those 2 nights out. And then it went from being a challenge to a choice. So now it's my choice. Like you said, you can drink whenever you want, however much you want, at any time you want, but you just choose not to. And for me, it's the exact same. I've never said I'm never going to drink again. I've never said that I don't judge anyone that chooses to want to drink. Obviously, people that might want to change and change their relationship. That's part of the reason why I'm doing this podcast, is for people that want to listen to this right now and go, yeah, all right, I want to get a bit more of an inside knowledge from someone who's a true expert in it, and someone that's got a little bit of experience having done it, being myself, is that we can make that choice. We have the ability to make that choice, having seen both sides. And that's it. Once you've seen both sides, you've experienced it, you've done your 28, your 90-day, your 365 challenge, then you can make that choice. But until then, you're not making a choice with an educated choice, because you've not experienced the other side. Exactly.
Yeah, it's so the matrix. And that's what's hard to tell people, when you're in the matrix, you're 100% in the matrix. Like, this is life. Alcohol is good. Alcohol makes me happy. Alcohol is my prize, my present, mummy wine time. Oh, look at all the memes. I can't get, give me more alcohol. If I could drink all day, I would, whatever the people, lots of comments like that. And you're like, okay, you are very much still in the matrix. But I know that if I pluck you out and see it from the other side, you just won't go back to being that way. You are transformed. You don't go back to being the same way. But that's totally up to the individual in its entirety. So
without a doubt. So this has been a fantastic conversation, and thank you so much for joining me. So again, for people that are interested, we're obviously going to put the show notes, the link to find out more in the show notes. They can find out more about your programs and inquire around that. Any parting wisdom that you want to share with anyone about anything we've not mentioned?
No, I would just say that hopefully some of this has struck a chord. There's never a good time, but there has never been a better time than right now. We're at home. This is a great time to show up, not just for ourselves, but those around us. You see that so many times in the community, that when somebody changes their relationship with alcohol, it gives people around them the valid excuse to do the same. And often it can impact families and friends and all of those kind of things. So it really is one of the best things that you can do for yourself, for your business, for your productivity, for your family. So I would just really encourage you to give it a shot. And you know what, if you do the 90-day challenge and none of these things happen for you, like nothing improves, then I really want to hear from you, because you'll be the first person in over 80,000 people to tell me that they didn't have a life-changing and or just a big change in their life. And finally, Will, for your listeners, if anybody does want to jump into the challenge, if they want that extra support, we should give them a discount code. What should we make it? You are Make It Happen. That's right.
Yeah, we'll just make it happen.
So let's just make it happen. Make it happen. All strung together. We'll do a 25% discount code off the 28.90 or 365-day challenge.
Amazing. Thank you for sharing that. And yeah, make sure that you guys, if you're thinking about it, take advantage of it. There's I've got no doubt that you'll see those benefits for sure.
Amazing.
Rory, you've been a legend. Thanks for coming on as a guest.
Thanks for having me on, Will.
Catching up with you very soon. For those of you who've been listening, until next time, make it happen.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Make It Happen with Will Polston podcast. Make sure you join Will's free Facebook group, the Make It Happen community. Please support the show by subscribing on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, SoundCloud, or Google Play. Share this episode with at least one friend you think would benefit from it, and give Will a 5-star review wherever you download your podcasts. Until next time, make it happen.